Hello and welcome to the Cards War Room channel. I'm Innocent Bubbles and this is going to be the first in my 5-part series in which I will go over the base starter decks for each nation and show you how to improve these and what your first craft should be. We're going to go through levels 1 to 20 and I'm just going to take you through every single step. It's going to be really easy, really simple, but you should see big improvements and big differences once you make these edits to your decks. Without further ado, let's get straight into things. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cutting this into 3 smaller segments so that you can improve your starter deck along pretty much every step of the way to level 20. The first step we're going to go over is the first 7 levels in which everyone gets the exact same cards. You don't have to worry about that at all. And we're going to use most of the cards from this. And then the next step, the second step, is going to be level 7 to 14. And I'm going to take you through your first crafts with that. I'm going to take you through what I would advise to craft and the different options you have. And then finally, the next step is going to be levels 15 to 20, where we're going to close it out with crafting our first special card. It's going to be very easy, very simple, and I'm going to give you a few different options for each level, but the cards we take out are going to be fairly set in stone because there's quite a few weaker cards in the deck that we don't really want. So let's just get straight into it with the first 7 levels. The first card we're going to get is the 40-second rifles. This is a very powerful card, especially if you get it into the front line versus more aggressive decks. Not only does it heal every turn, meaning your opponents have to take it out in 1 turn, but it also has ambush, which makes it very difficult to take out in 1 turn. Very nice card. We're also going to add the hammer. The hammer is just really strong removal. It's 6 damage for 3 credits. It takes out most ground units in the game. What's not to love? And then we have the 845th rifles. These are quite a powerful unit, especially in more defensive decks. They not only give you a unit to fight and trade on the board with, but it also provides a source of healing. And if you hit something which does more than 3 damage, it can heal you, 6 or 7 just from that alone. It's a really nice unit. And then obviously we're going to want the Kyusha. This is a blitz artillery. Artillery have a bit of a reputation in this game for being very powerful, and Kyusha is definitely one of the most renowned artillery pieces in the game. Having this blitz ability means you can drop it and remove something instantly, and it sort of acts as repeatable removal where you're just going to keep taking things out from your opponent's board until they find a way of reaching this unit in your support line and killing it. If you play around the Kyusha smartly, you can really get a lot of bang for your buck with this. And then we're going to add the KV-1 at 1939 as well. Now this is just a very solid tank. It's got heavy armor 1, it's got 6 defense, and of course it has guard, so you're going to be able to protect units like your Kyusha with this as well as your HQ. This is just a solid unit, and obviously because it's a tank, it can rush up and dish out damage to the enemy support line when needed. And then the 6th and final card we're going to use from the first 7 levels is Cuban Cossacks. This is possibly one of the most reliable units in the game. It's a free for free with 0 op cost, which is already nice in itself, but then obviously it has blitz, so you can deploy it and secure the front line, or you can deploy it and clear aggressive units in the front line. But if that wasn't enough itself, it does also have smokescreen, so you're able to use it to sort of play it early and then sit it back and wait until you feel like you need to use it. So very powerful with that. But now, of course, we need to clear some space to fit in these new shiny cards we have. So what are we going to take out? Well, the first card I'm going to recommend you take out is the 6th Naval Brigade. I know this is slightly appealing because it's a 1-drop, it has 0 operation cost, but it's just too slow because it doesn't have blitz, and it's so vulnerable to pretty much anything in the game. Removal, an artillery, anything is going to take this out. So it's just a little bit obsolete, so we're going to take this out. I'm also going to recommend you take out both the dive bombings. It's not the worst card in the game. This sees some play in draft, but it's really not what we're going to want in our deck. It is just, again, it's a little bit obsolete and we can get more useful cards. And then I'm also going to recommend you take out 1 T-70 and 2 BT-7s. We have a lot of these in our deck. They're not the worst card in the game, but we have far too many of them, and there are stronger options that we're going to want to fit in as soon as possible. So I recommend you take those out. And then finally, for now, I'm going to recommend you take out both of the 10th guards. These units are just very underwhelming, especially without any ways of buffing their defense or healing them. By the time they've gotten 2, maybe 3 bonus attack to the point where their attack is something useful, they're already dead or on death's bed and about to go. So I just think they're very underwhelming and we can do a lot better. Now, the more eagle-eyed of you may have noticed we've taken out 8 cards, we've only put in 6. So what are we going to do with these last 2 remaining slots that we have empty? Well, I'm going to recommend we put in 2 cards that will already be sitting in our collection just waiting for us to use them. These are the second rifles. It's a Soviet free-fall guard. It's very powerful. It's got really nice anti-aggro capabilities with this guard and bonus damage against blitz units. And then also the 980 Volksgrenadiers, which is actually a German infantry. But this unit is very well statted, and it just really gives you a lot of utility in the mid game in sort of taking control of the tempo and really swinging it towards our way for the late game. So this is the first 7 levels, but now we're just going to get straight into the next segment, which is going to be levels 7 up to 14. So now for levels 7 up to 14, we're going to have to do a little bit of crafting. We are going to get 2 limited wildcards and 4 standard wildcards. Now with the standard wildcards, I'm going to recommend you make 2 T-34 85s and another 2 bloody sickles to finish off our collection of 4 bloody sickles. Now as for the limited, there are a few different options. However, I think the most powerful option of them all is crafting another 2 Kyushas. Kyusha is a very powerful card, and pretty much every Soviet deck is going to want to run at least 2 or 3 of these. So I think finishing off your collection of these is super important. However, the other options are also crafting more 845th rifles. These are very powerful in slower paced and control decks. And then obviously the T60 is a very good choice. This gives us T34s as a continuum from it, but it also provides us with this nice mid-game guard. And then I think the last but not the least option is the 17th Rifle Regiment. This is sort of the S tier of, you know, low collection Soviet late game. It's super powerful, and if it can't get removed, it can pretty much win you the game on its own. So I think these are all the options, but I think once again Kyusha is probably the most powerful and best of all of the options. Now what are we taking out of these? Well, I'm going to recommend you take out both of the 95th Rifle Regiment. It's not the worst unit in the game, but it is quite slow, and I do believe the T-34s that we're putting in are just going to be far more useful 5-drops than this. And then assuming you've crafted the Kyushas, I'm going to recommend you take out the BT-7s. The Kyusha is just a far stronger 2-drop. It's far more reliable, and with this blitz ability, it's going to be far more useful, even though the BT-7 does have this 0-op cost. And then for these 2 bloody sickles, I'm going to recommend you take out 1 Burning Sky. We're going to leave the other one in there for now, as it is good air removal, and 1 85th Infantry Regiment, as frankly they are becoming more obsolete as we're putting in stronger and more active guards. But that is it for levels 7 up to 14. So now we're going to get into levels 14 to 20, where we will finish the video off with our first special card craft. So now for the final stage of the video, levels 14 up to 20. Now for this we're going to get 4 standard wildcards, 1 limited wildcard, and 1 special wildcard. Now for the standard wildcards, I'm actually going to recommend you craft some more artillery, namely the 37mm AA gun and the 45mm anti-tank gun. Now these are very powerful artillery pieces, and you'll see we're really pushing this early game artillery. Now the Soviets have some of the most powerful artillery in the game. Artillery is one of the most powerful unit types in the game, so we're really pushing this because we can utilize it so effectively when we're playing as the Soviets, especially with these guards to help us protect them and get maximum value out of these. And now for the limited wildcard, we can craft any of the 4 options I suggested earlier, but I do think the second most powerful one after the Kyusha is probably this 17th Rifle Regiment. It just gives us such a powerful late game where it can pretty much win the game on its own. And then for the special wildcard, I'm going to recommend, I think, the I-15 Choker as the strongest choice, but there are a couple other choices, namely the 16 Rifles, which is a very powerful 1-drop, and the Petlyakov PE-2 FT Bomber, which can really have a big impact when you get some of these big deployment effects being cancelled. But I do think the Choker is the most powerful of all of these. And then what are we going to take out for these? While we're going to take out this Burning Sky, we do have these 37mm AA guns, so we're not so scared about air units anymore, so we can take this out. We're going to take out the 259 Panzer Grenadiers from Germany, because we just have stronger 2-drops now, and we're also going to take out all 3 of these Ice Shack fighters. We really want to phase these out because they're just not particularly efficient. They have a very high operation cost, and we are getting more value 2-drops in the deck. And now on that note, that should bring us to the end of the video. Like I said, this is the first in a 5-part series in which we'll go over how to improve the base starter decks. Next episode, we're going to be covering Germany and then USA, so make sure you stick about for those. Make sure you subscribe to catch all our future content. We're going to do both content for newer players like this, as well as content for much more veteran and adept players to help them as well. Make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. And if you have any friends who are just starting to get into cards, just starting to put their foot in the door, do be sure to send their video this way, just so that they can, get hooked as early as possible, and then you have a new opponent to fight on the battlefield. Thank you so much for watching. I've been Innocent Bubbles. This is the Cards War Room channel, and I will catch you guys next time.